Yo, chat, we just copped the Nintendo Switch 2. Well, just copped is kind of a lie. It's been, I'm gonna say, like 20 hours or so, or 21 hours since I've gotten it, since I did wait in line at Best Buy yesterday from about 6 p.m. to 10 p.m. and they had quite a few in stock, so I was pretty lucky to get one even though I didn't pre-order. And yeah, let's just head straight into it. Got the Nintendo Switch 2 right here. Obviously, your boy had to get the Pro Controller as well. And yeah, we'll do little visual comparison between the actual console itself versus its predecessor, and the same thing for the Pro Controller 2 versus the Pro Controller 1. So yeah, let's get right into it. I will be making occasional sort of pauses in the video to cut out any awkward moments or moments where I need to sort of take both hands to open up the packaging. But yeah, other than that, let's just get straight into it. All right, so now I'm in the process of opening up the box, and from the rip, we got some instructions right here, which is pretty cool. I'll go on to open up the rest with both my hands, so I'll set the phone down again. All right, so as you can see, we got the main console right here. And, from the rip, opening it up, we can just see that it's just big, bro. It's a lot bigger than the Switch itself. Not just in terms of screen size, also in terms of, like the actual sort of like unit itself. So if we just like plop on the Switch 1 on top of it, you can obviously see that the Switch 2 is bigger. And yeah, so we got the main console right here, and we got the Joy-Cons right here. I'm gonna pause and take the things out of the plastic now and see what's below. So yeah, let's get it. All right, so first thing I'm picking up straight out of the box, first layer, are the Joy-Con 2s. And straight away, even though I do not have like Switch 1 Joy-Cons to compare these two, I can already tell, and we already knew this if we if we saw the Switch reveal trailer chat. These Joy-Cons are a lot bigger. Even through the plastic, I can feel the control stick being pretty premium. Sad thing is these are not Hall effect sticks, so theoretically speaking, Joy-Con drift could be a problem. But yeah, hopefully that is not the case with my Switch. So yeah, I will set this down, and then we will have a look at the console itself, this thing right here, and then take it out of the plastic. Now, I will be storing all packaging safely after the recording of this video, since I still need to sort of like actually like go through some videos. I should have done my due diligence beforehand, but I want to go through some like videos that are both critical of the Switch 2 and those that are sort of in favor of the Switch 2. I did talk to somebody at Best Buy with their support chat, their live chat with an agent, and they said that so long as my Switch 2 is lightly used, I will be able to sort of like return it and get a full refund if I so wish. But yeah, let's get it started with unboxing, or not unboxing, just taking these things out of the plastic. All right, so as you guys see, we have taken the Switch 2 console itself and the Joy-Cons out of the plastic packaging. And as much as I wish I could sort of, do a two-hand setup, I didn't really give much of an honest attempt to actually do that. So we're just going to do it old-fashioned. I'm going to set the phone down and then put on one Joy-Con, and then see if I can hold my phone, hold the Switch in one hand, then put on the Joy-Con on the other side. But I will be careful, so if I realize that I can't do that, I will just set the phone down, and you'll have to use your imagination to sort of see the motion of the Joy-Cons, excuse me, the Joy-Cons being placed on the sides, magnetically, instead of that, sort of sliding guardrail with the Switch 1. So yeah, let's just get into it. This time, not pausing for the cuts, just setting the phone down, and to just slide that in, or not slide that in, just, clickety clack. That's the sound of it. And then that's what it looks like with the right Joy-Con placed on right there. And then let's see here. I gotta be careful. This is a very expensive piece of technology. Let's see if I can get it to sort of, okay. elevation is not quite what I want it to be. Let me give it another, another shots right here. And then clickety clack. Come on, let's go, come on. Please. Please. There we go. So that is what the console looks like in handheld mode. And yeah, just from the looks of it and holding it, you can tell that this feels a lot more premium than the Switch 1 for sure. I think price-wise, maybe it's still a little too high. Maybe it would have been good if the Switch 2 was like 400 or 350 instead. But the economy we're living in, and the fact that this is supposed to, be 120 FPS, at least in handheld mode, and 4K in docked mode or whatever the specs are. Yeah, I can see why this costs more than the Switch 1, but yeah, we can talk about prices at the end of it. So I will now pause right here, set this in a safe place, and then see what's below. I got the Switch 2 Mario Kart bundle, so we got a download code right here. I think if I do end up returning my Switch 2, I will get all my money back, minus the price of the Mario Kart game. Now, with the bundle, it's only an extra $50 instead of $80, which it would be if you bought it like digitally or something. I'm not sure if like the physical and digital prices are the same, but I think I will be trying this. So in the event that I do decide to like refund the Switch 2 after, I, watch some more reviews and stuff post-launch. It's crazy that there weren't any like sort of, reviews beforehand, which is wild. But if I do decide to return the console, that'll set me back $50. But I'm semi-balling, so to speak, so it doesn't really matter too much to me. I'll be sure to play it enough times and cut the deadline real close to the return window. So yeah, it is what it is, just as long as I keep the Switch safe. So I'll set this down and get to this later. Got some usage guidelines, health and safety. I used to actually unironically read through these as a kid. Also, like, feel free to like skim past me yapping over stuff that's not related to the console, but yeah, that's that. Here we got the HDMI certified cable, ultra high speed. Let's get it. So let me just set that down. And then right here we have straps for the Joy-Cons. So these things go over the Joy-Cons, and I think these are also useful for the sort of mouse-like mode for the Joy-Cons as well. So yeah, I'm not much of a PC gamer, but I imagine if Nintendo has a very strong sort of, third-party support or even incorporate this feature into first-party games, I'll get to experience vicariously what it's like, So yeah, I assume this is the Nintendo Switch dock. So let's see if I can pull that out. Let me be careful. Let me just pull out smaller items first. This, by the feel of it, is probably the grip, in which you can slide in the Joy-Cons to have, some sort of a gamepad controller that you can use instead of holding the Joy-Cons separately. So let me pause the video and, just get those Joy-Cons in and show you. All right, so this is what the grip looks like when you equip both Joy-Cons on it, and it looks pretty nice. I do think, me personally, that it feels a little bit worse than the corresponding structure for like the Switch 1. So like the Switch 1 also came with like the grip just like this, and you could slide the Joy-Con ones directly onto this. I think, me personally, I kind of like the feel of the Switch 1 a little bit better. I just think, with the form factor like this, with the Joy-Cons being larger, something like this is a little bit worse in the hands because it's bigger. But I think some, like, to each their own. Some people might actually like that more. And I didn't mention this earlier, but it actually feels very good and like smooth to sort of move these joysticks around. So yeah, pausing here again, and let's move on to the rest of the package. So last but not least, I already took out the power brick for this thing anyway, but anyways, we got the Nintendo Switch 2 dock, obviously bigger than the Switch 1 dock, obviously feels more premium. We got some holes in the bottom, which I assume are for ventilation. And yeah, the inside of it looks nice. Feels pretty sleek. And yeah, I think, take this back part off to be able to connect the adapter and your HDMI, whatnot. So yeah, there's already, this is not sweat, chat. This is condensation. As you can see, it went away right away. But yeah, that's basically it for the unboxing of the Nintendo Switch. Think later, maybe in like an hour or so, I might take a nap for a short bit. I'll set it up and, basically just like see how it's like to, boot up the Switch 2 for the first time. I think maybe I'll check on the battery levels of the, the actual console itself and see where we're at. But yeah, oh, one more thing, the Pro Controller itself. Yeah, so let me just set the dock down and let's get to the controllers. All right, we got the Switch 2 Pro Controller and we got the Switch 1 Pro Controller right here. This thing has served me faithfully for 5 years. And I remember my older brother got this for me off of OfferUp. So who knows how much older this Switch Pro Controller could be. We're going to say, somewhere in the range of, a little over 8 years to 5 years. We could even shorten that interval even more, like let's say 8 years or 8 years oldest, 6 years youngest, since this was not in mint condition when my older brother got this for me. But yeah, let's open up the Switch 2 box and compare these controllers side by side. Let's get it. So here is the Nintendo Switch 2 Pro Controller, just unboxed off camera since I'm not trying to drop anything, just in case I decide to return this. But yeah, we have USB-C to USB. I think this is like the classic USB-C, right, chat? I think it's like Type B or something. Camera's not focusing, but whatever. I think it was just focusing on the controller the whole time. But yeah, I think with this we can plug this directly into the Switch dock and be able to charge it, while also I think having the option for wired communication between the console and the controller, just in case you prefer that and don't want to use wireless for whatever reason. But yeah, let's move this back here. Let's bring up the Switch 1 Pro Controller for the promised comparison. So, okay, from the looks of it, they are very much similar, but also different. No duh. But yeah, Switch Pro Controller, very, very comfortable controller, holds up pretty well after years and years of playing games on it. I think one thing that many sort of fans appreciated about it is that you could sort of see through this, this part right here. That is not the case on the Switch 2 Pro Controller, chat, which is pretty sad in my opinion. I think, many people like to crack jokes at the Switch 2, talking about some, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. As a way to sort of say the Switch 2 isn't really much of an upgrade over the Switch 1. And, I guess in some respects that might be a fair point that I can sort of, find more evidence, looking at more critical reviews. But yeah, being able to see through was definitely something that they should have kept for this one. But, holding on to this, the feel of a new controller, unmatched, of course. So this feels good to hold. This controller is not fully black, unlike that. It got some white parts on it. Chat, I will not be making any jokes about integration or segregation or whatever. But yeah, top looks pretty cool. They went with something different here. Obviously, I said Joy-Cons. I was about to say Joy-Cons. The joysticks feel very smooth to move out of the box. Hopefully it stays like that, And yeah, D-pad feels amazing. D-pad on the Switch Pro Controller, I was very, very surprised about how good it felt. So it's good that it feels good here. And yeah, there's a headphone jack too, right? If you want to connect that And what's new, right, is that you have these buttons on the back called GL and GR. I think the G stands for grip or something. But yeah, you can like press those buttons. And I think I'm not sure if like any first party titles are gonna have special functions for those. I think as far as I know, they're just like, extra buttons that you can map to whatever other button you want. So if you're playing Splatoon and like you like to play the ink brush, which requires like lots of mashing, you could sort of map it to both of those buttons and have an alternate way in addition to the ZR button. But yeah, let me stop yapping. I'm coming up on 10 minutes on this video. That pretty much does it for my Switch 2 unboxing. I'm gonna give myself some time to rest and eat, and then I will go into setting up the Switch. I think I ordered a pretty cheap case from Amazon right over there. If it'll focus, right over there, as well as I think 2 pairs of cheap screen protectors as well. I'm not sure if they actually ran out of the actual Nintendo brand carrying cases and screen protectors over at Best Buy, but I wasn't trying to spend too much money on it. Autodesk was generous to, give me $750 for my home office setup. But, I've only ever worked from home once, and I just prefer being in the office since they have lots of monitors. So I could have bought myself a monitor for home, but I like the experience of getting to travel and, getting to eat food in, the landmark building. So yeah, that pretty much does it for my unboxing chat, and I hope you enjoyed. So yeah, now we're gonna head into the sleep portion of the stream. Send Dono, send all them funny sound effects she wants to try and wake me up. But yeah, I'll be getting a little bit of shut eye and then set this up. So peace, chat.